Good morning, Flashes. This morning I'm going to talk to you about how to use your graphing calculator for these transformation of functions. I'm going to go through each parent function and just make sure that you understand how to put that in on the calculator and how to get your graphs. So the first one is f of x equals x squared. So if I'm going to put that into my calculator, again, some buttons that we want to be real familiar with. First of all, we turn it on, the y equals button. A couple ways you can type in x squared, and a couple ways that you can type in x. The easiest way to type in x is with this xt theta n button. So I type in x. You can do the x squared button, and that'll give you your x squared. And then if we go ahead then and hit graph, that's going to give us our parabola shape for x squared. One other way that you can type in x, and this also works, if I clear this out, is you can also use the alpha key, and then that gets you the green x down here. And then you could also use your caret key, so if I hit caret and hit 2, that'll also get you x squared, and then we can graph that. So two ways that you can do that for that one. The second one is f of x equals x to the third. So if we go back to our y equals, I'm going to again clear out my screen there. I can type in my x, and then again I can do the caret key and put in 3. That gets me my x to the third, and then I could hit my graph. So that's one way to do that. The other way that I want to just show you also, this if I clear this out, is I can also use this math button. If I hit the math button, you'll notice it gives me a menu, and if I scroll down to number 3, that also is another way to get your third to the third power. So if I go back to my y equals, I put in my x, I hit the math button, scroll down to number 3 and hit enter. That's also going to get you x to the third, and then again I can go ahead and hit graph, and that'll get you that particular function. Okay, let's go ahead and do the next one. The next one is f of x equals the square root of x. So on this one, probably the easiest thing to do on this one, if I go back to my y equals and hit clear, I'm going to hit the second function and the x squared button. That's going to get your square root, and then you can type your x in. If we go to graph, that's going to get you your graph for the square root of x. So f of x equals the square root of x. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. The next one is f of x equals the cubed root of x. So on this one, again, if I go back here to my y equals, on my y equals, and go ahead and clear that out. What I want to do on this one, again, I'm going to go ahead and hit the math button. That's going to give me my menu again. On this one, for the cubed root, I'm going to scroll down here to number 4 and hit enter. That's going to give you the cubed root, and then we can go ahead then and type in x, so the cubed root of x, and then we can go ahead and hit our graph, and that's going to give you your function there for that one. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. The next one is f of x equals the absolute value of x. So again, a couple ways that we can do this one. If I go back to y equals, I'm going to again clear that out. Probably the easiest way is to again use the math button. If we then arrow over to the right to number, the first option is ABS, which is absolute value. Go ahead and hit enter for 1. And then we can go ahead then and type in our x, and then go ahead and graph that. That gives you your V shape for your function f of x equals the absolute value of x. Now I do want to show you another option that does work. If I go back to my y equals and I clear that out, if I hit the alpha button, on the alpha button, if I hit the F2, that also gives you another menu. And the first one is absolute value. So you can hit enter, and again, very similar to what we did on the previous previous one, go ahead then and graph it. And again, that's also going to get you your absolute value function. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next one. F of x equals 1 over x. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to go back to my y equals. I'm going to clear it. And for this one, you're going to go ahead and we're going to again use the alpha key. And then we're going to do F1. And you'll notice that brings up kind of a fraction menu. If you hit the first one, which is number 1, that gives you a fraction. And you can go ahead then and type in your 1, arrow down, put in your x. So 1 over x, then we go ahead and hit our graph. And that's again going to give us our graph for f of x equals 1 over x. The last one is our greatest integer function. So our greatest integer function, f of x equals, and then the greatest integer for x. So on this one, probably the best thing to do, again, we go back to y equals, clear that out. If you hit your math button, on the math button, and then again we move over to number, the greatest integer function is all the way down at number 5, and then you hit enter. And then for this one, again, you can go ahead and type in your x. And parentheses, and then we're going to go ahead and hit our graph button. And again, you can see there on your greatest integer function, you get your little stair step look, which is what the greatest integer function looks like. So I hope this video was helpful for you. Again, going through the parent functions, typing them into the graphing calculator.